Come closer, my child. I am speaking gently, but there is an urgency wrapped inside my peace. I am calling you into this moment not by accident, not by coincidence, but because something sacred is unfolding behind the veil of your ordinary days. You have felt a subtle stirring lately, a quiet pull you could not explain, as if your spirit was being nudged awake in the still hours. That was me. I was preparing you to receive good news that carries life, promise, and destiny intertwined. Do not rush past this moment. Slow your breathing. Let your heart settle. There is joy approaching you that has been carefully guarded, patiently hidden, and lovingly prepared. What you are about to hear is not random information, but a divine interruption meant to realign your emotions, your faith, and your future. I am asking you to stay present, because timing matters now more than ever. There has been a holy silence around you recently, a calm that felt almost suspicious, as though something was being withheld. You sensed it in her eyes. You noticed it in the pauses between conversations, in a way her hands lingered over her heart, in a way she looked at you when she thought you weren't watching. That was not distance. It was devotion carrying a secret too precious to release too soon. I see the nights when you prayed quietly without words, only feelings. I see the questions you never voiced, the hopes you tried to keep contained so disappointment would not find you again. I want you to know that none of it was wasted. Every silent prayer, every surrendered expectation, every moment you chose patience over fear has been recorded and honored. There is a gift forming in the unseen, wrapped in tenderness and divine precision. It is not just an announcement. It is a covenant expanding, a legacy continuing, a love deepening in ways you have not yet imagined. This is why I am calling you closer now. Before the surprise reaches your hands, I want it to reach your spirit. You may have wondered if the season of waiting had quietly ended without celebration. You may have asked yourself if the joy you once imagined was meant for someone else. Hear me clearly now. I do not tease my children with false hope. When I allow anticipation to linger, it is because the fulfillment carries weight, meaning, and consequence for generations. Your wife had been walking carefully, lovingly, prayerfully. She has carried more than you know, not out of fear, but out of reverence for what is growing. There were moments she had to steady herself, moments she whispered my name in private, moments she asked for strength to wait just a little longer. I was with her in every breath. I was protecting what is coming to you both. Before the world rushes in with noise and reactions, I wanted you to hear this from me first. What is approaching your life will soften you, mature you, and expand your understanding of love. It will awaken parts of you that have been sleeping quietly, waiting for the right reason to rise. If this word is already stirring something deep within you, I invite you to respond gently. Allow others to find this moment too. Share this message with someone who needs reassurance that joy still arrives quietly before it arrives loudly. Stay connected here, because I am unfolding this revelation step by step. And if your heart feels ready, type in the comments, "I receive this blessing," as an act of faith, not performance, but agreement. Remain with me. Do not hurry ahead. The surprise is closer than you think, and heaven has been guarding it with great care. My child, there is a quiet joy being assembled beyond your sight, and it has required patience, coordination, and tenderness from heaven itself. What is forming is not rushed, not careless, not accidental. It is being prepared the way sacred things always are, with intention and protection. While you move it through your days thinking life was steady and predictable, I was arranging something that would change the rhythm of your home in the most beautiful way. You must understand that some blessings cannot arrive loudly. They come wrapped in stillness because they are fragile at first, needing time to strengthen before they are exposed to the noise of the world. This joy hath been growing gently, shielded from stress, guarded from fear, preserved from interference. That is why you have felt moments of peace mixed with uncertainty, happiness mixed with questions. Your spirit sensed something new approaching, but your mind could not yet name it. I have watched you observe her more closely without knowing why. You noticed the way she smiled to herself, the way her emotions moved like soft waves rather than sharp reactions. You wondered if she was tired, if something was wrong, if there was a conversation waiting to happen. In truth, there was a conversation being held already, but not yet with you. It was being held with me. This joy has required her courage. It has required her trust. There were moments when fear tried to speak louder than faith, moments when questions tried to steal her peace. But I reminded her to be still, to listen, to wait for the right moment. I reminded her that timing is part of love. Releasing a surprise too early can expose it to unnecessary worry, and she wanted to give you joy, not anxiety. You may not realize how deeply connected you are to what is forming. Your prayers, even the ones you didn't know you were praying, have been shaping this outcome. Your consistency, your loyalty, your steady presence have created a safe space for this joy to grow. Love is not only felt, it is cultivated. And what is being prepared is the fruit of years of shared endurance and quiet devotion. There were days when she placed her hands over her body and breathed slowly, grounding herself, centering herself, trusting me to carry her through moments of doubt. There were nights when she watched you sleep and felt both overwhelming gratitude and trembling responsibility. She knows this joy will change everything, and she wants it to arrive when your heart is ready to receive it fully. I have been watching over every detail, even the ones you would never think to ask about. I have been guarding peace in your home, deflecting stress, softening conversations, delaying unnecessary conflicts. Not because life must be perfect for joy to arrive, but because this season required extra care. What is coming deserves a gentle landing. You may feel a subtle shift in your emotions lately, an unexplained tenderness, a heightened sensitivity. That is not weakness. That is preparation. Your heart is being widened to hold something new, something alive, something that will call out parts of you that have never been used before. This joy will ask you to love in a deeper way, to protect in a stronger way, to hope in a purer way. Do not question the silence too much. Silence has been serving a purpose. It has been a womb for revelation, a shelter for growth, a sacred pause before celebration. Soon, the quiet will break open into a moment you will remember for the rest of your life. But for now, remain calm. Remain open. Remain trusting. What is being prepared is good. What is being prepared is holy. And what is being prepared has already begun changing you, even before you know its name. My child, there is a secret being carried in silence, and silence has not been easy for her. It has required restraint, emotional strength, and countless moments of self-control. She has had to hold joy and fear in the same breath, excitement and responsibility in the same heartbeat. There were times when the words almost slipped from her lips, when she wanted to run to you and release everything at once. But something within her whispered to wait, to protect, to choose the moment with care. The secret is not rooted in deception. It is rooted in love. Love that wants to give, not burden. Love that wants to surprise, not confuse. Love that understands how deeply you feel things and how seriously you carry the weight of responsibility. She knows your heart. She knows how news can change the way you sleep, the way you plan, the way you carry the future in your thoughts. and she wanted to prepare herself fully before inviting you into that shift. There were moments when fear crept in quietly, asking questions she tried to silence. What if something goes wrong? What if expectations rise too quickly? What if the joy becomes heavy before it becomes celebrated? In those moments, she turned inward and upward. She placed her trust in me, asking for protection, asking for guidance, asking for peace that logic could not provide. I met her there. I steadied her trembling thoughts and reminded her that she was not carrying this alone. She adjusted her routines without explanation. She guarded her energy. She became more careful, more reflective, more prayerful. You may have noticed small changes and dismissed them as mood or season. But those changes were acts of devotion, quiet rituals of care for something precious and forming. She was learning to listen to her body, to respect its signals, to move with wisdom rather than impulse. There were nights when she lay awake, one hand resting gently over herself, imagining your reaction. She pictured your face, your voice, your silence, your joy. She wondered if you would cry, if you would laugh, if you would simply hold her without words. That imagining gave her strength. It reminded her why the silence was worth it. A moment would come, and when it did, it would be wrapped in safety and certainty. You must understand that carrying a secret like this reshapes a person. It deepens empathy. It sharpens awareness. It awakens vulnerability. He has felt all of that at once. And still you chose patience. You chose her. She chose to let me guide the timing rather than her emotions. That choice has mattered more than you know. I have been close to her during this season, closer than she could feel at times. I have heard every whispered prayer, every fearful thought quickly followed by hope. I have watched her strength grow alongside the secret she carries. I have protected her from unnecessary worry and reminded her to breathe with her thoughts right ahead of her body. This silence will not last much longer. Secrets held in love eventually ask to be revealed. But before that moment arrives, I want you to know this. The waiting you have felt has not been empty. It has been sacred. Something holy has been growing in the quiet, and the silence has been its shelter. Stay open. Stay gentle. The moment of revelation is drawing nearer, and when it comes, it will arrive not as shock, but as fulfillment. My child, there is a weight your wife has been holding that you could not fully see, not because she hid it poorly, but because she carried it with grace. This weight has not crushed her, but it has pressed her into deeper maturity, deeper surrender, deeper awareness of how fragile and powerful life can be at the same time. She has smiled through moments when her body felt unfamiliar, when her emotions rose without warning, when exhaustion whispered that she should slow down even more than she already had. She has carried responsibility alongside joy. Responsibility changes the way a woman moves through the world. It sharpens her instincts. It teaches her to measure her strength carefully. She has been listening closely to her body, honoring signals she once ignored, learning that gentleness is not weakness but wisdom. There were days when she felt strong and radiant, and days when she felt uncertain and vulnerable, questioning whether she was doing everything right. I was there with her in those questions. I reminded her that perfection is not required for protection. I reminded her that love covers what knowledge is not yet learned. Still, the weight remained, not as a burden, but as a sacred awareness that something precious depended on her choices. That awareness can feel heavy even when the heart is full. There were moments when she feared disappointing you, moments when she worried that her silence might be misunderstood. She wondered if you felt distant, if you sensed change without explanation. That tension tugged at her gently but persistently. Yet she chose to trust that love would recognize love, even before words were spoken. She has been carrying the weight of timing. Timing is a quiet pressure that few speak about. Knowing something beautiful and life-altering while waiting for the right moment to release it requires discipline and emotional strength. She did not want to reveal this truth in haste or distraction. She wanted you present, grounded, able to receive it without fear clouding joy. This weight has shaped her prayers. They have become less about outcomes and more about protection, less about desire and more about wisdom. He has asked me for calm morning, for steady day, for peaceful nights. She has asked me to guard her thoughts, to steady her heart, to keep anxiety from attaching itself to what should be nurtured in peace. You may not realize how much she has thought about you during this season. She has imagined how this revelation will change the way you see the future, how it will rearrange your priorities, how it will deepen your sense of purpose. She knows that this news will awaken something protective and powerful in you, and she has wanted to make sure you are not overwhelmed when that awakening begins. There were moments when tears came without warning, not from sadness, but from the weight of significance. Tears are often the body's way of releasing what words cannot carry. She allowed herself those moments in private, breathing through them, trusting that joy and fear can coexist without canceling each other out. I have been strengthening her quietly. I have been surrounding her with calm when her thoughts tried to race ahead. I have been reminding her that she is not alone in carrying this weight. Heaven had been attentive to every detail, every emotion, every unspoken concern. Soon, this weight will be shared, not in a way that diminishes her strength, but in a way that multiplies it through partnership. What she has been carrying will become something you carry together. And when that happens, you will understand that the weight was never meant to remain on her shoulders alone. It was simply waiting for the right moment to rest in both of your hands. My child, there have been moments when her strength quietly gave way to tears, not because she was weak, but because the depth of what she carries needed release. Fear and hope have taken turns knocking at her heart, sometimes in the same hour. She has felt waves of emotion rise without warning, leaving her breathless, unsure whether to laugh or cry, unsure how to explain what even she was still learning to understand. There were days when her body felt heavy, when simple tasks required more effort than before. In those moments, fear tried to whisper questions into her mind, asking if something was wrong, if she was strong enough, if everything would be okay. She did not always silence those thoughts perfectly. Sometimes she sat with them, letting tears fall quietly, letting the uncertainty pass through her instead of burying it. I was close in those moments, closer than she realized, catching every tear before it touched the ground. Her vulnerability had been sacred. When she felt overwhelmed, she placed her hands over her heart and breathed slowly, reminding herself that fear does not get the final word. She spoke my name softly, sometimes with confidence, sometimes with trembling, but always with honesty. I honor that honesty. I meet my children not where they pretend to be strong, but where they allow themselves to be real. There were nights when sleep would not come easily. Her mind replayed possibilities, imagined outcomes, rehearsed conversations that had not yet happened. She thought about you, about how much you wanted to protect your joy as well as her own. She worried that revealing this truth might bring anxiety instead of celebration, that responsibility might overshadow wonder. Those worries did not mean she lacked faith. They meant she understood the weight of what was coming. At times, guilt crept in unexpectedly. Guilt for feeling afraid when she believed she should feel only joy. Guilt for moments of exhaustion when she believed she should feel only gratitude. I gently reminded her that mixed emotions do not cancel blessing. They simply reveal how deeply she cares. A heart that feels deeply will always experience more than one emotion at a time. She has felt alone in ways she could not explain, even while being surrounded by love. Some journeys must be walked quietly for a season, not because support is absent, but because growth requires intimacy with me. In those moments of solitude, she learned to listen more carefully, to trust her instincts, to discern what her body and spirit were asking of her. There was a breaking point, not dramatic, but tender. A moment when tears came freely and she admitted to me that she was scared. She did not dress it up with religious language or confident declarations. She simply said it as it was. And in that moment, I covered her with peace. Not by removing the unknown, but by reminding her that she would not face it alone. She began to feel a quiet reassurance settle into her spirit after those moments. Not loud confidence, but steady calm. A sense that even if challenges arose, she would be guided. Even if emotions fluctuated, she would be held. That reassurance has carried her through days when her energy was low and her thoughts were heavy. You may not have seen these tears. You may not have heard these whispered prayers. But they mattered. They shaped her. They strengthened her inner resolve. They taught her that vulnerability does not weaken love. It deepens it. And they prepared her to share this truth with you from a place of grounded peace rather than anxious urgency. I want you to know this so that when you notice her emotions surface unexpectedly, you will meet them with tenderness rather than confusion. Her tears are not a sign of doubt. They are evidence of devotion. They are the overflow of a heart that understands the magnitude of what is unfolding. What she has walked through emotionally has not been wasted. Every tear, every fearful thought surrendered, every breath taken in trust has been woven into protection. The vulnerability she allowed will become the foundation of strength for what comes next. The season of tears and trembling is giving way to clarity. The emotional storm has been preparing the ground for revelation. And when the truth is finally spoken, it will land not in chaos, but in peace that has been earned through honesty and trust. My child, even in seasons of joy, there are forces that do not celebrate what heaven has approved. While love was growing quietly in your home, there was interference moving in the shadows, subtle and strategic. Not loud opposition, but quiet pressure. Not obvious attacks, but whispered doubts, misplaced comments, and unnecessary fears trying to attach themselves to what was still tender. The enemy rarely comes announcing itself. It comes disguised as concern, as logic, as someone else's opinion spoken at the wrong time. There were moments when words spoken by others lingered longer than they should have. Comments about timing, stories about complications, warnings dressed up as wisdom. None of them were meant for you, but they brushed against her spirit and tried to leave residue. She felt it when anxiety spiked without explanation. She felt it when peace would suddenly waver after a calm day. That was not her intuition failing. That was interference attempting to plant unease where trust was growing. But hear me clearly now. Nothing was undetected what I was predicting. Influence was attempted, but access was denied. Jealousy has a way of watching quietly. There are people who smile while wishing they had what you are about to receive. Some have unresolved grief of their own. Some carry disappointment they never healed from. Without intending harm, they projected their fear onto her joy. Those projections did not come from love. They came from unprocessed pain. There were also unseen pressures. Moments when her thoughts felt crowded, when her mind replayed worst-case scenarios she never consciously invited. That was spiritual interference, trying to steal peace before celebration could arrive. The enemy always aims for the moment before revelation, hoping to weaken faith so joy arrives diluted. But I stepped in. I interrupted those patterns before they could take root. I redirected conversations. I heard the of certainly of us. I placed distance where closeness would have caused harm. You may have noticed plans changing suddenly, people becoming less present, conversations ending earlier than expected. That was not coincidence. That was protection. There was a moment when fear almost spoke louder than trust. A brief window when she questioned whether silence was still the right choice. That moment did not come from her heart. It came from pressure. And in that moment, I surrounded her with clarity. I reminded her why waiting mattered. I reminded her that joy guarded is joy preserved. The enemy does not hate people. It hates purpose. It hates legacy. It hates anything that extends love beyond the present moment. What is forming in your life is not only a blessing for now, but a continuation of destiny. That is why resistance tried to approach quietly. But resistance does not outrank authority. Nothing meant to harm has succeeded. No word spoken in jealousy has power. No fear introduced without invitation has permission to stay. I have been filtering what reaches her heart. I have been blocking what sought to overwhelm her mind. I have been strengthening her discernment so she knows when to listen and when to let things pass. You must understand this so you do not misinterpret moments of tension or silence. They were not signs of trouble. They were signs of warfare that never reached the inner gates. The battle was intercepted before it became visible. What you are about to receive has already passed inspection. Soon, the interference will lose relevance altogether. Once truth is revealed, confusion dissolves. Once light enters the room, shadows retreat without explanation. The enemy only has influence in secrecy. Revelation removes its leverage completely. Remain calm. Remain grateful. Do not revisit fears that were never yours to carry. What tried to approach has already been handled. What tried to disrupt has already been dismissed. Heaven has been standing guard, and nothing that matters hath been touched. What comes next will arrive clean, untainted, and full. And when joy finally speaks its name, there will be no echo of interference left behind. My child, there has been a divine investigation taking place long before you were aware anything needed guarding. While you lived within the visible world, I was moving through the unseen, examining every influence, every voice, every possibility that attempted to draw near to what was forming. Nothing escaped my attention. Nothing slipped past unnoticed. I do not protect casually. I protect thoroughly. I watched the subtle moments when concern disguised itself as wisdom. I listened to the tone behind certain words spoken around her. I weighed intentions, not appearances. Where something carried even a trace of fear or interference, I adjusted the path. I delayed meetings. I softened conversations. I redirected attention. You may have felt moments where plans shifted without explanation, where opportunities dissolved quietly. Those were not losses. Those were safeguards. I also examined her heart, not to judge but to strengthen. I saw where fear tried to settle and where faith pushed back. I saw moments of exhaustion and moments of resolve. I reinforced her where she felt weak and calmed her where she felt overwhelmed. Divine protection is not only about blocking danger. It is about fortifying the one who carries the blessings so that pressure does not distort perception. There were unseen lines drawn around your home. Boundaries placed not with force, but with authority. Anxiety was limited in how far it could go. Fury was not allowed to attach. Confusion was redirected before it could root. You may not have noticed these interventions, but their effect was felt as unexplained peace after moments that could have unraveled. I sent reassurance in subtle ways. A calm morning. A gentle word. A moment of laughter when fear could have dominated the day. These were not small comforts. They were strategic reinforcements. Heaven does not always intervene with spectacle. Often, protection looks like normalcy preserved. There were times when she sensed me without fully understanding why. A sudden stillness, a clarity that arrived without effort, a feeling that everything would be okay even when logic could not explain it. That was my presence confirming that the investigation was complete and the outcome secured. I have also been preparing you, even without your awareness. Your heart has been softened intentionally. Your priorities have been subtly reordered. I have been drawing your attention towards stability, patience, and long-term vision. This was not accidental. You are being positioned to receive this revelation without panic, without fear, without resistance. No accusation stands. No interference holds authority. Everything that needed to be addressed hath been addressed. Everything that needed correction hath been corrected. What remains now is alignment. Alignment between truth and timing. Alignment between joy and readiness. You do not need to defend what is coming. You do not need to explain it prematurely. Heaven has already done the explaining where it mattered. What you will receive hath been cleared, covered, and confirmed. As the season turns, you may feel a shift in the atmosphere of your home. A lightness, a sense of anticipation without anxiety. That is the signal that protection has completed its work and revelation is approaching. Rest in this. Trust what has been handled on your behalf. The investigation is over. The verdict has been rendered. What is coming to you is approved, protected, and ready to be revealed in peace. My child, the moment of turning has arrived quietly, without announcement, but with unmistakable weight. What was hidden is pressing gently against the surface now, asking to be opened, asking to be known. This is the season where mystery loosens its grip and truth begins to breathe. Nothing is forcing its way out. It is unfolding naturally, the way all things do when their time has fully come. There is an object, a moment, a small act that will carry more meaning than its appearance suggests. It may seem ordinary at first. Something handed to you. Something placed where you will find it. Something asked of you with calm urgency. Open it quickly, not because of panic, but because your heart will recognize that this moment has been waiting for you. She has rehearsed this moment more than once in her mind. She has imagined how she will stand, where she will place her hands, how she will steady her voice. She has prayed that her emotions will not spill over before the words are fully spoken, not because she fears your reaction, but because she wants the truth to arrive cleanly, wrapped in peace rather than trembling. There is a sacred tension in this turning point. Joy is ready, but it is still gentle. Love is present, but it is holding its breath. The unseen is about to become seen, and with that comes a holy vulnerability. This is not a reveal meant to shock you. It is meant to soften you, to draw you inward, to invite you into deeper partnership. You may feel something shift in your spirit just before it happens. A warmth in your chest, a sudden attentiveness, a feeling that something important is about to be said. Do not dismiss that awareness. That is your spirit aligning with truth before your mind has caught up. You are being prepared in real time. When the mystery opens, you will realize that nothing about the waiting was wasted. Every quiet day, every unanswered question, every moment of stillness was aligning you for this exact second. Revelation does not arrive randomly. It arrives when the heart is capable of holding it without fear. She has been carrying this moment with reverence. She knows it will mark a before and an after in your life. She knows it will reshape how you see the future, how you see her, how you see yourself. That is why she wanted it to be right. Not perfect, but right. As the truth begins to rise, you may feel overwhelmed for a breath or two. Let that pass through you. Do not rush to respond. Let the wait settle. Let the meaning sink in. Some news is too sacred to meet with words immediately. Silence can be the most honest response. This turning point is not dramatic chaos. It is gentle awe. It is the quiet recognition that life has expanded while you were not looking. It is the realization that love has been working on your behalf in the background, preparing something that now stands ready to be received. What you are about to open is more than information. It is invitation. An invitation into a deeper calling, a wider responsibility, a more tender version of yourself. This is the moment where mystery gives way to meaning, and meaning begins to reshape everything that follows. My child, when the truth finally reaches you, it will not arrive gently and then pass. It will settle deep, touching places in you that have been waiting for permission to feel fully alive. There will be a moment when your breath catches, not from fear, but from recognition. Your soul will know this news before your thoughts organize themselves. That is the awakening beginning. Your wife will watch your face closely, searching not for approval, but for connection. In that instant, your strength may finally soften. The careful composure she has held will loosen, and emotion will rise without restraint. Relief, joy, vulnerability, and love will converge all at once. This is where her emotional collapse is not a breaking, but a release. She has been holding so much alone, and now she is no longer required to. You will feel something protective awaken inside you, something ancient and instinctive. It will surprise you how quickly it rises. Responsibility will not feel heavy in that moment. It will feel purposeful. You may feel fear brush past your heart briefly, but it will not stay. All will push it aside. Love will take its place. She may cry without apology. These tears will not ask you to fix anything. They will simply ask you to be present. Her body will finally exhale a season of restraint. Her spirit will recognize safety in your reaction, even before words are spoken. In that moment, she will understand that waiting was worth it. There may be words exchanged, or there may be silence filled with meaning. Either way, something will shift permanently. The distance that secrecy created will dissolve, replaced by unity that feels deeper than before. What was once hers to carry becomes yours together. Partnership will take on new definition. You will begin to see her differently. Not just as your wife, but as someone who hath been entrusted with something sacred and has carried it with courage. Respect will deepen. Tenderness will increase. You will recognize that love has matured quietly while you were not measuring it. She may confess moments of fear. She may admit how hard the waiting was. Listen without judgment. Her honesty will not diminish joy. It will anchor it. This is the awakening where truth and vulnerability meet and strengthen the bond rather than strain it. In this moment, you are not just receiving news. You are stepping into alignment. Something in you that has been dormant will stand to attention. Purpose will sharpen. Priorities will rearrange themselves without effort. This awakening is not loud. It is steady and irreversible. I want you to understand this clearly. What you are feeling is not pressure. It is calling. What she is releasing is not weakness. It is trust. This exchange is sacred. It is the point where love transitions into legacy. Stay present. Stay gentle. Let the awakening complete its work. This moment is not meant to be rushed or analyzed. It is meant to be felt. And once it is, you will realize that everything before it was preparation, and everything after it will carry new meaning because of it. My child, hear my promised words now, not as distant hope, but as truth spoken over your life with authority and tenderness. I promised that your waiting would not end in silence, and I am keeping that promise. I promised that love planted in faith would multiply, and I am fulfilling that word before your eyes. I promised that what you entrusted to me would return to you with increase, and that promise is unfolding now. This is the moment where surprise becomes revelation. New life is not only being announced, it is being assigned purpose. The baby girl is not coming by chance. She is coming by intention. She carries gentleness wrapped in strength, sensitivity wrapped in courage, and joy wrapped in destiny. I have written her days carefully. I have shaped her spirit before her body was known. She is known in heaven before she is introduced on earth. Your wife will speak the words or show you the proof, and in that instant, promise will step out of the unseen and into your hands. What you open will feel small compared to the weight of what it represents. Life, continuation, covenant, future. This is the fulfillment of prayers you prayed plainly and prayers you prayed without words. I promise to restore laughter where responsibility once felt heavy. I promise to bring sweetness into seasons that required endurance. I promise that joy would return not as memory, but as living presence. This child is part of that promise. She will soften your home, deepen your patience, and expand your capacity to love beyond what you thought was possible. Do not fear what you are being entrusted with. I do not give carelessly. I do not assign weight without also supplying strength. I promise you wisdom when you need it, calm when you feel overwhelmed, and provision that meets you day by day. You will not lack what is required for what I have given. I promise protection over your wife's body and peace over her mind. I promise steady days and guarded nights. I promise discernment for every decision and reassurance when emotions rise. I promise that fear will not rule this season. Joy will lead it. I promise that this child will be a bridge, not a burden. She will draw you closer to each other, not pull you apart. She will invite prayer, laughter, and presence. She will be a reminder that life continues to bloom even after seasons of uncertainty. I promise that what the enemy tried to interrupt, I have already secured. No word spoken in jealousy will attach. No fear projected by others will take root. I promise divine covering over this family, seen and unseen. You are not stepping into chaos. You are stepping into alignment. Receive these words not as poetry, but as assurance. I am with you in this beginning. I will be with you in the middle. I will remain with you as this life grows, learns, and becomes who she was created to be. This surprise is not just news. It is confirmation. Confirmation that I keep my word. Confirmation that love multiplies when it is trusted to me. Confirmation that your future is unfolding exactly as it should. Hold this promise close. Speak it when doubt tries to rise. Return to it when responsibility feels heavy. What I have started, I will complete. And what I have promised, I will not withdraw. My child, restoration is settling over your home like a quiet dawn, not sudden, not forced, but steady and undeniable. What once felt uncertain is beginning to align. What once required effort to hold together is now being strengthened from within. This blessing is not arriving to disrupt your family, but to restore balance where life had stretched you thin. You will notice it first in the way peace returns to ordinary moments. Conversations will feel softer. Laughter will come more easily. Even silence will feel companionable rather than heavy. This is not coincidence. It is alignment. When heaven releases a gift, it also releases the grace required to receive it without fracture. Your wife will begin to stand differently, not just physically, but emotionally. The fear she carried will give way to confidence that feels grounded, not performative. You will see her glow not because everything feels perfect, but because she feels supported, seen, and no longer alone in what she carries. That shift will restore something in her that she did not realize had been depleted. And you, my child, will feel restoration in your sense of purpose. Where responsibility once felt abstract, it will now feel meaningful. Where the future once felt distant, it will feel personal. Your instincts will sharpen. Your patience will deepen. You will find yourself thinking not only about tomorrow, but about legacy, about the kind of presence you want to be remembered by. There will be practical concerns, of course. Questions, plans, adjustments. Do not fear them. Restoration does not remove responsibility. It redeems it. What once felt like weight will now feel like direction. You will discover that provision meets intention when intention is aligned with love. Your home will begin to feel like a place of shelter in a new way. Not just a place you return to, but a place that restores you when you arrive. That is no small gift. Many houses exist, but few become sanctuaries. The season is shaping yours into one. Old tensions will lose their grip. Small disagreements that once escalated will dissolve more quickly. You will find yourselves choosing grace faster than defense. This is part of the blessing. Restoration is not only about adding something new. It is about healing what was strained without being named. I am aligning your family rhythm. Sleep, energy, emotion, and communication are being recalibrated. You may not notice it all at once, but over time you will look back and realize how smoothly this transition unfolded. That smoothness is not luck. It is guidance. This child will arrive into an atmosphere of intention. She will be welcomed into love that has already been tested and refined. That matters. She is not coming to fill a void. She is coming to expand fullness. That is why restoration accompanies her arrival. Heaven does not add without also stabilizing. Do not rush this season. Let it teach you how to receive without anxiety. Let it show you that blessing does not always arrive with upheaval. Sometimes it arrives with quiet confidence, with gentle joy, with a sense of rightness that settles deep in the chest. You are not behind. You are not unprepared. You are not lacking. Everything needed for this alignment is already being supplied, day by day, breath by breath. Trust the pace. Trust the process. Trust the restoration that is unfolding even now. This is not just a new chapter. It is a healing one. And it is preparing you for a future that will feel more connected, more grounded, and more meaningful than what came before. My child, now I seal this word with a final blessing, gentle yet unbreakable. What hath been spoken over your life is not fragile. It is anchored. Destiny is realigning quietly but decisively, like a compass finding true north after a long journey. What once felt uncertain about your future is settling into clarity. You are stepping into a beginning that has already been approved by heaven. I bless your household with peace that outlives emotion. Not excitement that fades, but assurance that remains. I bless your days with steadiness and your nights with rest. I bless your conversations with patience and your decisions with wisdom that arrives exactly when needed. You will not be confused in this season. You will be guided. I bless your wife with strength that does not strain and joy that does not exhaust. Her body is covered. Her mind is guarded. Her heart is held. I place calm around her like a shield and tenderness within her like a spring. She will feel supported in ways she cannot always explain, and she will know, even on difficult days, that she is not alone. I bless the life that is coming into your family. This baby girl is wrapped in purpose before she ever takes her first breath. She will carry light in her presence and gentleness in her spirit. She will soften what is rigid and strengthen what is tender. Her arrival will mark a turning point not only in your home, but in your understanding of love itself. I bless you, my child, with courage that rises naturally, not forced. You will lead without harshness and protect without fear. You will learn as you go, and that will be enough. You do not need to have every answer today. Your ace will meet you in real time. What you need tomorrow will arrive tomorrow. This is a new beginning, not built on pressure, but on promise. What comes next will not undo what you have built. It will refine it. It will deepen it. It will give it greater meaning. You are not losing yourself in this season. You are becoming more fully who you were always meant to be. If this word has settled into your spirit, let it move beyond you gently. Allow others who are waiting on good news to find reassurance here. Stay connected to this space where truth is spoken softly. And if your heart agrees with what has been declared, type in the comments, "I trust this new beginning," not for anyone else, but as a quiet confirmation within yourself. Go forward without fear. The path ahead is covered. What had been promised will unfold in its proper time. I am with you in this beginning, and I will remain with you in all that follows. Destiny is not rushing you. It is welcoming you home.